Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our next webinar in our series of webinars for the orientation of new senior administrators. So I'm glad everybody was able to join us this morning, and I'm glad to be able to introduce Dr. Mack to everyone. He's fairly new to the system office, and he also brings a lot of great expertise with him in economic development, and we're very glad that he's here to help lead us in that area in this, not only the system office, but across the state. And he's here today to share with us a lot of the great things that are going on and everything that you need to know as a new chief or senior administrator in your area. So without further ado, I'll turn the mic over to Dr. Mack.
Okay, thank you, JW. And good morning to everyone. I hope that things are well. I'm excited to be with you this morning. I know that you're chomping at the bits to learn about economic development from the system office. But just to tell you a little bit about myself, I joined the community college system in '96. I left industry as a manufacturing engineer with Curtiss-Wright Flight Systems here in Shelby, North Carolina. And I went to work for Cleveland Community College as a faculty member for mechanical drafting to head up their mechanical drafting technology program at that time. We were under the old quarter system, which shows you how long I've been in the system when I started, and then we switched over to the semester system, I think around '98, somewhere around in there. In 2014, I took a role as the director of customized training at Cleveland. So I left the classroom and decided to move on the continuing education side in that space, where I work with business and industries to develop customized training projects as well. And then in 2016, I went back to the curriculum side of the house and took a role as the Dean of Engineering Technologies and Public Safety. And during that time, I was able to develop Apprenticeship Cleveland as well. And then I did that until 2018 when I was promoted to Vice President of Workforce Continuing Education. So I went back on the Con Ed side of the house. So I've kind of bounced back and forth between the curriculum space and the Con Ed space. And then in 2021 of June, I joined the system office as Vice President of Economic Development, which includes some of, and I'll talk about what areas though, but I've had an opportunity throughout my tenure at Cleveland, my 25 years at Cleveland, I had the opportunity to work with every facet of the areas that are in economic development at the system office. So the position for me since June has been an exciting position. It's been an exciting journey. I've had an opportunity to meet a couple of you on the call. I see the names out there. I think I'm attending the ceremony at Western Piedmont with Rick First on Thursday. So I'm looking forward to that ceremony on Thursday morning as well. So this is very informal presentation. And JW, I don't know if you want to allow for questions during the presentation or I can have a Q&A session at the very end. So I'll pause at this time and you let me know what are your thoughts on that.
We can handle that whichever way you would like, Dr. Mack. So people can feel free to either put questions in the chat or unmute your microphone and ask questions as we go if you're comfortable with that.
Okay. If you want to man the questions, do you mind? Because I won't be able to click and look at the questions, and then you can ask them at that time. I do see one in the chat room. It's from one of my fraternity brothers, Jasmine Spain. It's good to see you, Brother Spain, on the call as well, down at Pitt Community College as well. So let's get rolling. If I can start it. So this slide here just really shows the vision of President Stith and the community college system, right where we are now. And so I'll talk a little bit about his vision as well. So his vision, really, President Stith joined the system office in January of this year. And I had several conversations with him before joining the system office about his vision. And we talked about how North Carolina will serve as the first choice in the North Carolina in North Carolina for accessible and affordable higher education. We'll lead, of course, during North Carolina's economic recovery and sustained growth into this future during this pandemic. We'll also become a national model for diversity and inclusion. And then I'll add as well, we'll become a workforce development engine, and that's what we do. And you hear me talk about that a lot as I talk through my presentation. We are 58 strong, as you know, from the mountains to the coast. As they say, from Murphy to Manio, Manio to Murphy. And I've had an opportunity to go across the state and see a lot of great things happening in this role here. And so I'm fortunate as well to be in this role under following the great Maureen Little. Many of you probably know Maureen, who served in this capacity for years. And so I just wanted to kind of provide you with a timeline of economic development when under the leadership of Maureen as well. A lot of transition happened under her leadership. Community College developed customized training in 1958. We were the first in the nation to roll with customized training. And in 2008, we kind of changed some things about customized training, and we went more to job growth, technology and investment, productivity enhancement. So companies that are experiencing and creating jobs, whether you're new or expanding industries, that's what customized training is all about. You may be investing in some new technology, or you may have to skill up your existing workforce as well. So we work with those companies throughout all 100 counties. In 2008, we also hired regional trainers. So our regional trainers provide training for customized training projects as well across the state. We currently have 3 regional trainers. I think we've had as many as 6 since we've started regional trainers in 2008. In 2015, we went through a partnership with North Carolina Manufacturing Extension Partnership, NC MEP. They're located on the campus of NC State. So we do have a partnership with them where they provide us with some grant funds, and we actually do industry surveys as well to take a look at the economic impact that customized training has had on some industries. In 2016, we had quite a few things take place. There was a merging that took place of several different departments. So customized training took on BioNetwork, which a BioNetwork Center was created in 2004 to support bio industries, biomanufacturing, biopharma, food and beverage as well. And you hear me talk about that. And then they also took on the Small Business Center Network, which was established in 1984. And then in 2017, Maureen's department, she became the vice president at that point. And in 2017, she took on Apprenticeship NC. And apprenticeships were originally under DOL, the Department of Labor, and then they moved to Commerce for a short while. And then they came to the community college system. And in my opinion, that's the best place forward where we are now, because we provide the related instruction, or we can, and it's the best model to provide the related instruction for the apprenticeship program. And you'll hear me talk about those things as well. So as just some of the topics here, we'll talk about the Small Business Center Network, BioNetwork, the apprenticeship, and then customized training as well. So when we look at the Small Business Center, our Small Business Center touches all 100 counties. We have a Small Business Center director located on all 58 colleges. And typically on most campuses, that director may report to either the dean of continuing ed, workforce continuing ed, or they may report to the VP. It just depends on the organizational setup at that point. But I do want to make the point that the Small Business Center director can only do small business center things. And I'll talk about the difference between the Small Business Center director and the customized training director. So really, when we talk about Small Business Center, the colleges are funded for the Small Business Center, and I'll talk about the funding as well at the 58 as well. And so they do things like business seminars, they meet with companies, they do counseling. So last year, we had over 45,000 business seminars throughout North Carolina. We helped 650 businesses start up last year as well throughout North Carolina. And then we either created or retained 3,800 jobs as it relates to the Small Business Center within North Carolina. So it was established in 1984. And again, it has a footprint at every college across North Carolina. And it's really for starting businesses and creating and retaining jobs. The goal of the Small Business Center is to increase the success rate and the viable small businesses that are in North Carolina, because we know that over 96% of the businesses are small business centers within North Carolina, and we're talking about businesses of 500 employees or less is how they've defined small business centers. We have presence in all 100 counties. As I said, all 58 has a small business center director. And then we also have regional directors. So somebody at your college may be a regional director. So if you're in the Western region here, Jill Sparks, who's actually at the Small Business Center at AB Tech, is the regional director for the Western region here. And they work with Ann Shaw, who's a Small Business Center director, the state director as well. One thing I do want to note about your regional directors and for the Small Business Center is that they're not paid to do that. This is in addition to what they do on their campus. And so basically we've asked regions if they want to, individuals within those regions, if they want to be a Small Business Center a regional director, and they've agreed to do that. And they do that outside of their normal time. Many of them spend a lot of hours working with other directors in their region. So if there's a college that has a new director, that regional director would go spend some time with that college director to try to help that college director get acclimated as well, along with Ann Shaw also, and Mark Hagenberg, who's the deputy director as well. So I do want to make that point that they're not paid to be a regional director. They're not receiving any kind of stipend. It is my goal to try to find some funding because they do work a lot. And I feel like that they should be somehow receive some type of incentive for the things that they do as it relates to the region. Now, some of the clients, you know, when we talk about the Small Business Center, we talk about prospective clients, startup clients. We work with existing businesses as well. Majority of our clients are they're in the kind of the pre-stage when they're seeking assistance. And our client makeup is about 61% female, 45% minorities, and about 10% veterans as well. And so we administer programs. We have a state director who oversees and provides leadership of the network. We have a local college management of each center. And then we have statewide guidelines with performance measures for economic impact and client and attendee satisfaction. We also have an operations manager manual that supports onboarding and operations. They do an annual report every year, and they report their mid-year budget report. And then they track their attendees and they track their client surveys as well. Some other things that they do as far as the objective of the program is they help with the startup process of potential entrepreneurs. They help them start and they grow their business and create jobs. They assist with navigating regulatory agencies and requirements. They also increase business success and reduce business failures. Some of the things, the spectrums of the services here, you know, one thing, of course, is we outline is that these services are free. They're free to all 100 counties as well. So they can work with the Small Business Center director and not pay a dime, and they receive one-on-one business counseling as well. They can attend our seminars, which are usually 1 to 3 hours long. They attend those seminars, webinars, and short courses. And these courses are really high impact topics that, again, that are offered at free of charge. And it depends if we have to provide some supplies, we may ask for a minimum registration fee. We have resources and referral information that we provide because we work with other partners like the SBTDC, NC, NBC, and other state and local agencies as well. We have partners that we refer to, we'll refer our clients to. We collaborate with other partners as well, Boots to Business, recovery programs, and capital access programs as well. And the SBTDC, as I said earlier, we share information, we distribute information to businesses, and then we help with disaster recovery assistance as well. We received almost $3 million to help with some of the COVID relief funds during this pandemic to try to keep businesses going. And that money was sent to your small business centers, and they utilize that money to provide counseling and other services as well to help keep the businesses going. One thing that's unique is that most of the expenses state funded. It's 100% supported by the state. Some of the colleges will provide additional support to the Small Business Center so that they can actually provide some staff in there as well. We serve all 100 counties through our 58 colleges, and we focus on startups and micro enterprises. Usually companies that are 50 employees and less is really where we hone in on, but we'll serve all businesses and industries. And then we have a local and a regional approach as well. So as we look at the budget, which I wanted to provide this information to you because when I was the vice president and I had acquired the Small Business Center, I wanted to know what was it all about. What happens with the Small Business Center, because sometimes the Small Business Center can kind of be isolated and off to themselves on this island by themselves. And you have to trust the fact that they know what they're doing. and you have to understand it and let them do their job as well. And so, I wanted to understand how the budget work. So the small business centers are allocated about $6.6 million each year through small business center allocation or allotment. We're fortunate to get that funding from the General Assembly. That hopefully a budget will be approved tomorrow, and we'll hear that we've been approved to receive the allotment. I think the budget might be in conference or approved through conference right now, and waiting on the governor to sign it. But each college, all 58, will receive a base of $104,353. So that's a base, and that base can cover things like salary, instructional supplies, staff, and things like that. That you can actually utilize that for. And then there's also a performance funding that the small business centers will get as well. And that's based on the number of counseling clients, the number of counseling hours is put in a metric. And this information is calculated, the number of small businesses that are served in that service area, the number of businesses that are started in that service area, and the number of jobs that was created or retained in that service area. And then within that metric on the performance measure, the performance funding, each college will receive a portion of that funding based on their outcomes, their projected outcomes. $9,000 must be spent on instruction, which will include seminars and webinars. Funds cannot be transferred to other purposes here. These are designated funds that can only be used for the small business center. I think at the college level, they call them categorical. So anytime you hear that word categorical, small business center will be included in that. So this funding can only be used for small business centers. Seminars removed from performance funding, but still measured and reported. So we've actually removed that from the actual funding itself. On the credentialing piece for the directors, there are 3 levels that the directors can be credentialed, and we ask that they get their credentialing within the first 3 years. So you have a level 1, a level 2, and a level 3 credential. And then there are some professional development conferences that the directors must attend as well, along with some small business center seminars that provide content. And then it also ensures that the directors have a broad knowledge and skill base for counseling in all types and levels of clients that they deal with. So some of the things that they do on a day-to-day basis is they manage our client resource tool. And it's a central IC, and it's a client-based management tool. They're not using Colleague to input their data. They're putting their data into this client management tool here. And it's information that can be snatched and pulled out from across the state. They also sign a confidentiality agreement. So they cannot share this information with anybody other than themselves. And so there are times when they may not share confidentiality information with you because they've signed this agreement as well. Directors and counselors must sign this conflict of interest and confidentiality agreement and submit it before gaining access to this client management system. Profit Sense is a tool that they use as a financial analysis tool, an industry benchmarking tool as well. So this talks a little bit about the client confidentiality piece. So I want you to see that, because as you lead the small business center directors, you need to understand that confidentiality piece is really held to a high esteem, and it creates credibility for us. And so they're not supposed to share any information, and it really provides trust that the customer and the client actually trust them. Over the last year, I have not received the numbers from last fiscal year, but fiscal year 19-20, we had over 44,000 attendees attend our seminars. We had over 4,000 training events. We had over 6,000 clients, over 15,000 counseling hours, and over 500 new businesses. And we created over 5,700 new jobs or retained new jobs as well. And I put here kind of a 5-year rolling average, so you can kind of see how we've done each year compared to the average. So we're just right around that average there: 45,000, 4,200, 56, 14 on the counseling hours, 688 on the new businesses, and 392 or 3972 on the jobs created and retained. So this is the funding piece here that I talked about earlier. So when we look at what's been sent to the General Assembly for fiscal year 21-22, and it will be in the college's budget package and that packet that they receive every year. 6.6 million goes to all the small business centers. And there's that 104,000 on the base allotment. And then there's that performance-based allocation that's based on seminars, counseling, and economic impact as well. So as you look at this here, and Alamance is my first college here, so I'll take Alamance. So again, regardless of the size of the college, everybody receives a base allocation. It's not generated based on FTE or what the small business center is doing. It's just a base allocation that they've taken and they've divided that up by 58. And then the performance allocation here is additional funding that they'll receive based on these things here that we're measuring. And so you can kind of see that Alamance in fiscal year 2021, they were funded an additional 10,000 just for their performance measure. AB Tech was funded an additional 16,000, both an additional 6, and Bladen 3, and so forth and so on. So basically we have so much that we receive on the performance allocation, and then based on the metrics that are being measured, each one of them will receive, or each college will receive a percentage of that as well. Also in fiscal year 2021, that's the 3 million, 2.9 million in COVID relief funds that, or the CARES Act funds that we receive to distribute out as well. And then we also received some additional funds this past fiscal year to go to COVID relief funds that need to be spent by December 31st. And some of your colleges, I think 14 colleges, received some additional funds. Ann Shaw is our state director of the Small Business Center. She's located at Coastal Carolina. And so if you need to reach out to Ann, here's our contact. So at this time, I'll pause, JW, to see if there are any questions about the Small Business Center.
All right, thank you, Dr. Mack. That was very informative. And as people are thinking to see if they have any questions to put in the chat box or to unmute, I have a question for you. I've often wondered if there were any internal partnerships with the Small Business Center. I know that the Small Business Center can't share their client information. However, students who graduate from maybe some traditional credentialing or curriculum programs where students traditionally are dreaming about starting their own small business, cosmetology comes to mind, for example. Are there any internal partnerships that you're aware of where those graduates are encouraged to talk with and work with their small business center?
Yeah, that's a great question. And when we look at the Small Business Center, you know, the director can really touch a lot of facets on the local college's campus, particularly in the business administration curriculum side of the house. I know that there are entrepreneur classes. There's an entrepreneur class in the business administration curriculum standard as well that colleges may be utilizing the Small Business Center director to teach those classes. I do know Small Business Center directors that are presenting to classes like cosmetology, public safety classes, where they can start up their own business. I heard a story at the conference about a college that's in the western part of the state. They had a student who was in a plumbing program. And once he finished the program, he met with the Small Business Center director on that campus because he wanted to start his own plumbing business. And that person helped him get started and start the business. And he grew his business to where he had 6 employees as well. And so he became sustainable and he started his own business. So there is a great correlation between entrepreneurship and what's happening on campus. So yeah, please utilize your directors. Make sure they're going to talk to some of these classes where they can actually start their own businesses as well, because they're not only working with external partners, but as JW alluded to, they're also working with the internal partners on campus as well. So yes, by all means, make sure you include them in that discussion. It's a great question.
Thank you, Dr. Mack. I'm not seeing any questions in the chat box. Anybody have any questions? Yes.
There's a hand raised.
Yeah, hi, Ro, what you got for us?
Yeah. So sorry about this. I'm at home with a sick baby right now, so that's why I'm not on camera right now. Okay, but I just want to I just have a question. Do we have any statewide recognitions for like businesses that get started and like anything to like promote those businesses statewide? I know there's small businesses usually in their areas, but I'm just wondering, like, do we have anything or any plans to do such where we could highlight maybe a new business that just got started that's like really growing, but then also recognizing businesses that have been, around the longest because of their start at the small business center. So I'm just asking if we have anything like that to recognize.
Yeah, and that's a great question too, Iro. And I hope your baby gets well. I know
Yeah.
that's challenging being at home with
Yeah.
a sick child. But yeah, each year at the Small Business Center Conference, they do recognize businesses as well. And Ann Shaw can provide you with, and I can reach out to her to see if she can actually get a list of some of the businesses. And we do success stories as well, and we recognize businesses that are doing really well and they've utilized the Small Business Center. I'm not certain that we recognize like the small business that's the longest tenure, has the longest tenure in that county as well. But I will reach out to Ann, and you're welcome to as well, and see if we can get some information on that.
Okay, thank you. And by the way, me, you, and Jasmine got something in common. Okay, I just want to throw that out.
All right, my fraternity brothers. So I feel really good knowing that they're on the call here, supporting me. That's really good.
I think that concludes our questions there, Dr. Mack, and we can go ahead and move forward.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about the Bio Network and the purpose of the Bio Network. So when we look at the Bio Network, the mission of the Bio Network is really, it exists to serve you, the colleges, their instructors, by providing updated curriculum materials, resources, and training to support local industries as well. It also exists to serve companies by preparing workers with current industry practices and knowledge and skills. And then it serves students by preparing them with job relevant knowledge and technical competencies and soft skills and hands-on learning environment. So as we look at the Small Business Center, the Bio Network, it is not like the Small Business Center. We have 4 located across North Carolina, 4 centers. We have 1 center at AB Tech, and Chris Reedy is the director of that one. And I'll talk a little bit about that one. That's the Food and Beverage Center. We have a center located at Gaston College, and Vernon Schoaf is the director there, which is our Learning Resource Center there. We have a center located at Pitt, where Jasmine is, and we do have a vacancy there at Pitt, but that's our STEM outreach center there. And then we have a center located at Wake, where Leslie Eisenhower is the director there, and that's our Capstone facility, and it's located on the campus of NC State. So each one of them has their own individual focus. The biomanufacturing focus is the Capstone, located on the campus of NC State for Wake Manufacturing, Wake Technical Community College. It's really industry driven. It's industry design courses, including upstream and downstream processing, aseptic processing. The STEM outreach program is at Pitt. What we try to do there is we try to provide awareness for bio industries or bio careers in the bio world to the K-12 population. So we go out and we do presentations in the K-12 system, and we work with the community colleges as well with the life sciences. And then we have the Food, Beverage, and Natural Products Center that's located at AB Tech, where we provide training and safety and sanitizing for food, beverage, and natural products. You have a lot of breweries up in that area. And then we have the Learning Solutions at Gaston College, where we actually help with some of the curriculum development, some of the virtual career fairs that we've been offering as well, promoting jobs in the bio industry area. So just an overview, last year, we had over 40,000 plus hours in contact hours of short-term training. So the Bio Network works with customized training to do a lot of their training as well. They also work with individual colleges to do, they might do some open enrollment courses. They might do some self-support courses as well when it comes to providing the bio work curriculum and aseptic processing. They also, and this curriculum, by the way, the bio work curriculum can be embedded in some of your biology classes, particularly if you have like a biotechnology program on your campus. We can embed this bio work curriculum so that your students actually can have an embedded curriculum or an embedded credential once they finish that course. So the bio work course itself that we talked about is the entry level training course. that can be embedded. And we actually had over 16,000 hours for that course itself. And we trained over 8,000 people with that curriculum and some of the other curriculums that we have at the Bio Network as well. So this is on the K-12 outreach. Even during the pandemic, we were able to get into 94 schools and community colleges last year. We actually saw over 4,000 students and interacted with them through several different programs. And then we had over 300 instructors to attend some professional development training, which again, your biology instructors, some of your instructors on your campus can actually attend some of our professional development training that's provided by the Bio Network. It is a partner of the community college system, so keep that in mind. Just some of the courses that we want to highlight here. So we did over 237 courses. We had over 59 open enrollment courses, 168 customized training courses, and then we had some industry sponsored courses as well. Touched almost 3,000 students through these courses. We served about 52 companies last year, had 4 career fairs, and over 700 participants in the fairs. This is kind of just an idea of what Capstone does is upstreaming process, downstreaming, aseptic process, freeze drying as well. They have the equipment there to be able to provide the training to your instructors. So your instructors may have to go there. They do have a clean room. We know every college does not have a clean room. So if there's not a clean room provided, then the instructors can actually go to Wake Tech and receive this training. So the funding piece itself, again, this is another funding allocation that comes from General Assembly. So each center has its own funding to be able to provide for staff, travel, also materials and things and other resources that they may need. So AB Tech gets about $842,000. Gaston gets about $917,000. Pitt 756. And then Wake Tech gets about $1.5 million to apply towards their salaries and benefits and their travel as well. So our director of the Small Business Center is Emily Sisk. Emily joined the team in August. She was actually an employee at Cleveland Community College with me, and I brought her on the team as well as the executive director of the Bio Network. And so she has those 4 centers under her area. So at this time, JW, I'll pause for any questions about the Bio Network.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Mack.
Yep.
I'm not seeing any questions in the chat. Please feel free to unmute your mic or put something in the chat, and we'll pause here for a second. All right. If you didn't get a chance to ask your question, of course, we'll pause at the end of the presentation if you remember something later on. So Dr. Mack, I think we can keep going.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about apprenticeships and what's going on with apprenticeships. So as we look at apprenticeships, Apprenticeship NC is an employer-driven training model, and it has 3 components to it. And this is a busy slide here, but I want you to know that we have presence all across the state. We have field employees that work with the companies and the colleges, work with you individuals at your colleges on apprenticeships as well. So we kind of divided them up into regions. Some of them cover multiple regions as well. So we have consultants and coordinators across those regions also. And so many of you, I heard this morning that there are 30 colleges now that are what we call sponsors on apprenticeships. And I think that's a good thing. I mean, my goal is to see all 58 colleges offer apprenticeships, have some sort of apprenticeship program that you sponsor. And my staff, we're going to work with you to make sure that you have that presence as well, because we want to make sure that we're touching all 100 counties when it comes to apprenticeships. So apprenticeships has 3 really key components that drives it. One is the on-the-job learning, which is the OJT piece of it, which is provided by the company. So it's a combination of company OJT training, and it's a combination, and that includes job-related instruction as well, which is typically provided by the community college, but it can be provided by the company. And then there's a progressive wage scale, which the apprentice must be employed and the company must pay them a progressive wage scale. So they pay them a scale, a starting pay, and then by the end of the apprenticeship, they have to have increased that pay to 85% of what that occupation actually pays. So there is a wage scale involved. So the apprentice actually receives pay. And then there's a credential that's associated at the end as well. So it is a registered apprenticeship. They do get a credential from the U.S. Department of Labor that recognizes that apprenticeship or that journey worker across the United States. So once they receive that credential, they can go anywhere in the United States, and that credential is recognized because they've actually been involved in a registered apprenticeship program. So those are really the core components of the apprenticeship program. A lot of times apprenticeships really stem from some type of internship or work-based learning opportunity on the campus of Cleveland. I will share this. When I was the dean, I ended up we had work-based learning there where we had the WBL courses, and then we started apprenticeships in 17. And when we started apprenticeships around 17, 18, we would take those opportunities where students might be working for an employer as a work-based learning student, and then they would hire them as an apprentice at that point. And that's the goal, is to ultimately lead them to a job. How we get there is we can get there in different facets, but apprenticeships is one way to get the student to a job. You must have a minimum of 2,000 hours, which can be completed in 1 year if they work about 40 hours a week. And then again, they can be awarded credit for previous training as well. That's the on-the-job learning piece. The related instruction, the on-the-job learning piece, it can be either time-based, or it can be what we call competency-based, or they can have a hybrid model as well. If it's time-based, that means that they clock them in and they track that 2,000 hour, and they have to have 2,000 hours of on-the-job training time before they can actually move to the next, or before they get credit for that on a time base. Most of the models that we're seeing now is a hybrid. It's a blend between the time and the competency model. So on the job-related education, it can be provided by the community colleges, which that's what we ultimately want, since we're partnering now with apprenticeships, because you do know apprenticeships resonates, or it resides at the community colleges. Or it can be provided by the company as well. The company can provide their own related instruction also. They have to have a minimum of 114 contact hours per year, which when you look at that, that's not a lot of hours. But when we look at community college sponsors, and what we're seeing with community college sponsors is we're seeing that they're actually embedding credentials in the related instruction. So for an example, you may have an apprentice occupation that's a maintenance occupation, and the related instruction may be the industrial systems technology piece, where they may get either a certificate, diploma, or an associate's degree, depending on if it's a 8,000 hour apprenticeship, and they're going to last for about 4 years, so that they have enough time to complete the associate's degree. But we're trying to embed those programs and those credentials within the apprenticeship program. So as you're working with your apprentice, as you hire your apprenticeship coordinator, and as you work with your apprenticeship coordinator, many of you will work with that person. Make sure that person is thinking, how can I make sure that the student gets a credential embedded once they complete the program? So I think that's a benefit to the student itself and to the college as well. So this is the progressive wage scale that we talked about, that the apprentice must be paid in order to be part of an apprenticeship program. We also have pre-apprenticeships programs, which is designed to kind of introduce students to what's a registered apprenticeship. It does not have to include any kind of on-the-job training. It can just be textbook classroom work as well. And there's not a number of hours that it can max out. So you're hearing a lot of terminology now about pre-apprenticeship programs, and they are registered apprenticeship programs. These hours is in a pre-apprenticeship program will count towards a registered apprenticeship program. Another thing that came about in 2016 was a youth apprenticeship waiver that you'll work with your business office and your student services staff on, or student affairs. If a student graduates from high school, as it currently stands now, and they enroll in a registered apprenticeship within 120 days after they graduate high school, they have to enroll in the program before they graduate. That's the key. And if they do that before they graduate and they start the program, they qualify for the youth apprenticeship waiver, which means that any courses that they take that's related to the apprenticeship will be waived. So there's no fee associated with it. It could be curriculum, and it could be tied to Con Ed as well, that waiver. So to give you an idea of the number of apprentices that we've served over 16,000 apprentices in North Carolina, and we're growing every day. This graph here shows kind of a lot of activity of what's happening. You see a lot of activity going on in Surry County and Guilford County, down in Cumberland area as well. We do have Fort Bragg military base down there, so we have a lot of apprentices that are taking advantage of that. And then I think here we have in Guilford County and Mecklenburg County, you see Mecklenburg has over 4,000. We have a big program with I think CVS Pharmacy that's actually has a lot of apprentices as well. And up in Surry County, I think we have a big program with Pike Electric that's registering apprentices there. So this is the number of apprentices that we've actually served this year. As you kind of see, this is kind of a rolling average. We're growing here, and we peaked out at that 16,894 during the course of fiscal year 20, and now we're about 2/3 of that, and we've already passed the 50% point. So we feel like as we continue to serve apprentices, this number will continue to grow. I just wanted to kind of show you what's happening in Fort Bragg down in that area with Fayetteville Tech in that area, and the number of apprentices that we're serving there. Looks like we've had about 4,000 that we've served, and we've served about 1,200 so far. This graph here shows high school apprentices. These are apprentices that enroll in an apprenticeship program before they graduate high school, so they do qualify for the tuition waiver if their related instruction is provided by the college. So you can kind of see Mecklenburg County, Guilford County, some of the larger urban areas. We're seeing a lot of activity going on. Again, my goal is to provide some resources in the western parts of the state and the northeast and southeastern parts of the state as well, to help kind of grow apprenticeships in those regions. This here shows some active pre-apprenticeship programs, and the plan, as always, is to get these people that are enrolled in students that are enrolled in pre-apprenticeships is to enroll them in a registered apprenticeship. So it's kind of a precursor to a registered apprenticeship. I wanted to provide this slide so you can see what the tuition waiver is actually doing, and how much is going on. So if you look in fall of 19, we had 292 students qualify for the tuition waiver, which equated to about $200,000. And you can kind of see the numbers here as we look at it. In the fall of 20, it looks like we peaked out at about 255. So we had 378 students awarded the tuition waiver. I have not gotten the numbers for fall 21 yet, so I'm pretty certain that we were at 227 here, 330. So I think the numbers will look really good there. So this kind of gives you an idea of the number of students that qualifies for that tuition waiver. This here is kind of some of the grants that we received. And some of the things that we're doing with the grants is we're providing educational assistance. So for those students that are not in a tuition waiver, that's not in the youth program, we if they're in a registered apprenticeship program for the first time, we do provide and pay for, we have funds that from this grant that pays for the related instruction as well. Catherine Costellos is our director of apprenticeships. So you can reach out to her and her team if you have any questions there. So JW, at this time, I'll pause to see if there are any questions for apprenticeships or any questions.
Yeah, so Jairo has a couple of questions, and then we did have a question about BioNetwork that we can go back to after we finish with apprenticeship.
Okay.
So Jairo?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Dr. Kelly. So just two questions. One, is there a statewide like shareable database that shows who's offering apprenticeships? And the reason I'm asking that is, if I wanted to start one in my service area, related to maybe like working with a hospital, is there like a database that shows like all the other ones that are doing the same thing across the state. So maybe I could reach out to them and say like, hey, how did you start this? What was the conversation like? What is some data that you're showing, like how it is helping your organization or your company? And then that way it makes it easier to sell it to, people in our service area.
Right. And Howard, the first thing I'll probably get you to do is reach out to Tony McKnight. And I have his number is on the screen. So he's actually your apprenticeship consultant in that, no, where are you located? I thought you was Pitt. Where are you located? I'm assuming you're in Pitt. Which college?
Oh, me. Sorry.
Yeah.
Central Carolina. I thought you were talking about Tony.
Okay. So you're in Central Carolina. So you're actually in Chatham County. So Shantae Bell will be your apprenticeship consultant.
Okay.
So if you reach out to Shantae, then she can kind of get you started and she can provide you with the necessary steps and kind of help you get going. Do you know Central Carolina has an apprenticeship coordinator on campus right now that you guys have hired?
I couldn't answer that. I think we do, but I can't know. I don't know for sure.
Yeah,
I think I was just asking if,
find out first. I know Margaret Robinson is your vice president of
Right.
Workforce Con Ed there. Find out first if they have an apprenticeship coordinator, and that person is probably working with Shantae Bell, and then they can kind of help you with understanding how to get going and how to have that conversation with some of the industries about starting apprenticeships.
Okay. And then from what I'm looking at, right, is my second question was the apprenticeships are more geared towards, I guess, CT and health sciences. Has there ever been anything that's like geared towards like anybody that's not in those industries or fields, like, our university transfer, stuff like that? Is there anything for those folks to go into?
Yeah, we can, we can actually do an occupation or find an occupation just about for any career field. Typically, it is for CTE related programs and for production related programs or jobs. But yeah, Shantae should be able to kind of help you with that as well, to see what other fields are out there that you can find. I mean, when we talk about occupations, it could be several different occupations out there that you can take a look at.
Okay. All right. Thank you for answering those questions.
Yep.
Any other questions on the topic of apprenticeship? And I did have one question for you, Dr. Mack. And
yes,
could you speak a little bit about the partnership on a campus between some of the work-based learning activities like practicums and internships, and how those all could maybe weave together to help with apprenticeship?
Yeah. So when we talk about the work-based learning piece, work-based learning can be embedded in apprenticeships as the related instruction. And here's a number for you, 320. Does anybody know what 320 is? When I throw 320 out, I'm quizzing you today. Dr. Kelly, I'm working on them.
I hear you. You got me stumped.
320 is the maximum number of contact hours that you can receive FTE wise, right? $320. That's your number, right? In a course, contact hours for FTE purposes. So if you take on a work-based learning course, so if you take a 320 course, if you take a 2-hour work-based learning course, that's going to yield you 320 hours, contact hours, and that's the max you can receive. A lot of colleges are not offering a 3-hour work-based learning course, which will yield you 480, but the max you can claim will be 320, if that makes sense. You can only claim a maximum when it comes to work-based learning, is the maximum that you can claim is 320. If you embed work-based learning into apprenticeships as part of the related instruction, and you put a 3-hour work-based learning into the apprenticeship, and they get 480 contact hours of related instruction, you can actually count that in your FTE formula. So the 320 max on work-based learning courses does not apply if work-based learning is embedded in the related instruction on apprenticeships. And there are some colleges that are doing that. They're putting work-based learning as a course within their apprenticeship program, and they can count more than 320 FTE hours, contact hours. But really the relationship, what I did at Cleveland, and it may be different at every college, and it is different at every college, but my work-based learning coordinator is the same person as my apprenticeship coordinator, because I knew that there was a direct correlation between work-based learning and apprenticeships. And I wanted to, Cleveland is a smaller college. It's not like a CPCC where you may have a separate work-based learning coordinator and a separate apprenticeship coordinator. But that person at Cleveland was one and the same. And so that person really worked with business and industry. They work with the customized training director as well, because when the customized training director goes out and talk to these industries here, they may find out that they need internships, they need work-based learning, they need apprenticeships. So they'll come back and talk to that apprenticeship coordinator, that work-based learning coordinator, and that work-based learning coordinator will figure out how to make it work in the classes that are needed in the related instruction so that that person can be successful as a successful apprentice. So that's really, I think there's a relationship between the work-based learning and the apprenticeship. It may not be the same person at your college, but they should have some conversations at your college.
Excellent, thank you. And for me, that was a gold nugget. I appreciate you sharing that advice.
Yep.
We do have one question, if we can bounce back to BioNetwork topic for a second.
Okay.
The question is, how many colleges are embedding BioNetwork into some of their curriculum courses? Do you have a sense of how many colleges are taking advantage of the BioNetwork?
I don't, but I will have it by the end of this presentation.
Do we have any other questions for Dr. Mack?
So, yeah, go right ahead. Let me step right here.
Do we have more questions for Dr. Mack while we get ready for the next section? Well, Cindy, it sounds like he's going right over to ask the expert to get the answer to your question. And Cindy, I see your hand is raised, so when he gets back, if you'd like to go ahead and unmute and ask your question, feel free to do so.
Okay, I went next door to ask our executive director. So she said 10 to 15 colleges have embedded programs, the BioWork, into their curriculum programs. Just to name a few: Wake Tech, Durham Tech, Central Carolina. Those are some. But she said in their colleges now they're looking at bringing that back and embedding that into their biology program and into curriculum program.
Thank you, Dr. Mack.
You're welcome.
Right,
Any more questions?
No, sir, no more questions.
Okay, all right, and then I'll cover this last section here on customized training. So when we talk about customized training, basically the mission of customized training really is to support economic development within the counties. It provides customized training assistance to companies. It enhances the growth potential of companies and increases the retention of existing industries. And then basically we prepare the workforce with essential skills. So here's the layout of customized training. So I talked about regional directors on the Small Business Center side. We have regional directors on the customized training side as well. I have 7 regional directors, and I have 1 regional director that's responsible for 2 regions as well. And this is what they do. They work with all 58 college directors on customized training. They meet with industries. They work with them on executing the projects as well. And so these are the individuals at that level that's making it happen with the college directors. So you'll hear terms like Purpose 365 and 361. I tried to put some terms that you'll hear at the local level, things that I picked up when I was at the college level. So you'll hear Purpose 361. Purpose 361 are customized training projects. And these projects here really are things that may include pre-employment training. It will include post-employment training. It's ongoing support as well. And so these funds really are provided to the colleges or to the colleges to manage that actually provides training for the companies itself. And it can include some type of screening as well. It depends on what the company is requesting. So with last year, we had 255 projects. And so each project is funded. Every college is different. Every college has so many projects here. And I think I may have a slide with an example of it, but we had 255. So last year we spent about $4.9 million in training. We trained over 15,000 trainees as well with these 255. And this is really what we call the Purpose 361 customized training funds. We also have what we call business and industry support funds, and this is Purpose 364 and 365. So you hear a lot of numbers on the customized training piece. And so with 364, 365, these are funds that's used to support business and industries that are not project related. And so we had about 527 companies here that we served, and we spent about 2.9 million there. Total, we spent about 8.7 million. We trained over 21,000 with an average training cost of about $400 per trainee. So this is how the funding has been over the past few years of customized training. This is money that's managed by the colleges. It's allocated from the system office down to the colleges. The college have to request these funds through what they call a funds action request, or they call it a FAR. And so, if you're a vice president, if a customized training director reports to you, you might hear them talk about a FAR, F-A-R. They request these funds, and these funds are pulled down from the state, and these funds go to the local college really to support training and other resources as well. These are some of the industries that we've trained in. It's mainly manufacturing, but we do some things in warehousing and distribution, business support services, very little construction as well. IT supported, we do some things there. Pharmaceutical as well, transportation also is a biggie as well. I wanted to take a look at some of the rural counties and seeing what kind of projects we have in the rural counties versus the urban counties out of the 255. Because again, I want to try to increase activity in the rural counties. I know we have a lot of activity going on in the urban counties, but I want to look at what's happening in the rural counties. This is a slide showing customized training active projects by the college. Gaston College stood out at the top last year with 20 active projects, followed by Wake Tech with 18, and then Durham Tech with 14. And so you can kind of see the activity that's going on with other colleges as well. We have Tri-County over here, and then we have Cape Fear down here, Brunswick Community College there. So again, I want to look at some of the activity that's going on to try to increase that activity. There's Pitt with 7, and then we have about 8 down here for Central Carolina. This is actually, that might be my same slide. I apologize about that. Why am I showing 3? Okay, this is by county. This is current where we are now by county. And so basically this is a number of projects that we have in each county. So if you can look, looks like Gaston College is leading because they serve 2 counties. They serve Gaston and Lincoln. So they have 12 active projects. Wake County has 11 active projects, Durham Tech, 10, and so forth and so on. So you can kind of see your area there in your college that serves that county area. AB Tech and Western Piedmont up here has 6 apiece. And so these are active projects where they're working with specific companies. And then I have regional trainers that provide the related instruction, and they're housed at different campuses. I think last year we had 5. I currently have 3 regional trainers right now. And so you hear a lot about regional trainers. And on the Purpose 364, 365, I talked a little bit about this and the number of companies that we served. And this is the expenditure rate here. We spent about 97% of the training dollars that were received last year through business and industry support funds. So this is in addition to customized training funds. So I wanted to share this slide on the funding. When we talk about Purpose 364, each college gets a base of $40,000 that applies towards the customized training director's salary. This, of course, this $40,000 may not cover the whole salary, does not cover the whole salary and benefit. So the customized training director, there are other things that the customized training director would do on the college campuses, and we understand that. But I do want to make the point that customized training should be their primary job. And then there's some secondary things that they'll do, like OE, they'll do some self-support, they'll work with other courses and on campus as well to do some corporate training. But we would like for customized training to be their primary job. So $40,000 is allocated towards their salary for staff and instructional purposes. And then there's some additional amount, which we call Purpose 365. It's used for instructional purposes only. And you get either $7,500, $10,000, or $20,000. It depends on the number of eligible jobs that's in that service area in these particular sectors here. Some of the larger counties or colleges are getting $20,000. And of course, some of the smaller colleges are getting $7,500 there as well. So you get that in addition to for instructional purposes only. And then on the 361, this is project-based. It's dedicated to a company, and it's determined by job growth, job creation, productivity enhancement, technology investment, and then also they'll work with the training plan and or work with the company to provide a training plan as well. So when we talk about customized training across campus, in my opinion, and I've served in multiple roles at the campus level, the customized training director should be your face of industries. It's the face of the college as it relates to industry. They should really understand the college itself, have a really good knowledge of the college, because when they go out and meet with industry, that industry may say, I don't need customized training, I need apprenticeships, or I need a curriculum program. And they'll come back and work with the curriculum team to develop a program or go out and meet with the industries to figure out what they need, what type of industry training as well. Customized training directors also use local college instructors to provide instruction because they are the experts. And so a lot of times you may have an instructor that's doing customized training work as well, or project work, and we do appreciate them for doing that as well. So so that concludes my presentation of my area with the Great 58, and I'll entertain any questions that you may have right now.
All right, thank you, Dr. Mack. This has been very good. We'll pause here to see if anybody wants to unmute and ask a question or put something in the chat box.
I know I didn't do that well, Doc. I mean, you know, just I've only been on the job since June, so surely they want to have some questions for me.
So my friends, thank you for your time today. Dr. Mack, thank you so much for your time. And as always, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to Dr. Mack or anybody on his team. Once Dr. Mack shares his slides with me, of course, I'll get those sent out to everybody along with the recording today. And so this is not your last chance to ask questions. We're always here available at the system office to help you as best as we can. And so I'm looking at the chat here just to double check. All right. Yeah, you were getting kudos for calling a friend to answer a question there, Dr. Mack. And everybody's giving you kudos. We appreciate any closing comments before we shut things down.
Well, I appreciate just your time this morning. I think your role is very critical on the campus. I do miss the college environment. I did that for 25 years. And I, if I need to come by, I'll come by at any point to present to your campus. I'll come by to visit your campus. Just reach out to me if you need me to. I am working with a couple of colleges on helping them in the reorganization process and figuring out where the Small Business Center and Customized Training Director should fit. And so I'll be glad to do that. I've been fortunate to be able to serve in a lot of different areas at the local college level. So it's really good to have that understanding of it. So if you need me to come to your college, feel free to reach out to me. And again, JW, thank you for having me this morning.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And I feel the same way. It's always great to get on the campus and see students and see faculty and staff as well. Everybody have a great day. Tomorrow, there's just one Zoom link, and we'll just follow the agenda using that same Zoom link for the day. And so we look forward to seeing you tomorrow and hope that you have a wonderful day. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.